Welcome back. I'm Lysa Black, a heart healer. I'm here with the incredible chakra alchemist, Tash. So nice to talk about three of the biggest concerns that we're really hearing in business owners right now. Both of us have some beautiful ways that we're serving and supporting people through these big challenges. But firstly, we want to share what these three challenges are. First one is there's a real fear coming out that so many people are doing similar things that we're actually going to be unoriginal. So we may be seen, and that could make us feel quite criticized or rejected, is the fear, or maybe we're feeling ungrounded. So welcome along, Tash. Mitch. So lovely to have you here and to talk about these things in a soul dive together today.
I get so excited whenever we have a conversation because I always know that expansion is going to be the end result and that we're both going to leave it feeling like that sort of sparkly energy around us. So thank you for inviting me into this container.
This is why I have these conversations with you, for the exact same reason. I love talking about what some of the biggest concerns are that we're hearing, because I really think that people can feel quite isolated in these concerns and feel like they're the only ones. So let's move into the first one of unoriginality. Honestly, if we look around enough, you're actually going to find someone who's actually doing work quite similar to you. And what would you say to that, Tash?
That's a really interesting one because, you know, when you have the light bulb moment, it's like ding, and you get this idea and you get the rush that goes through you and you feel like you're the only one that has on this whole planet that has ever come up with this concept of this idea. And then basically you figure that you're bringing something completely new to the market, like nobody else is going to have ever seen this, you know, and then you start sort of like looking around and doing your research and you're like, oh my God, it's everywhere.
It's like, but I honestly thought of this like not knowing anything about you guys. Seriously.
And the one thing that I've actually really come to terms with is that we as human beings are intuitive, and there is a collective mind out there that feeds our intuition and feeds our inspiration. And if we have an idea, and this is something that I've actually spoken to people about, because we can have one idea and that idea will get filtered down to say 2 million people at the same time. And for us, we find that like really, you know, how can it possibly be 2 million people and what am I going to do with it and what can I say to that? Yes. But out of those 2 million, probably maybe 500,000 of those will actually even register the idea enough to really do anything with it. And then it filters down to like probably only 1,000 people will actually have the stability and the rootedness to carry this forward. And for me, this is going to sound really weird, but this is just what came into my mind. Sperm. You know, like basically it's like, you know, there's millions and millions of sperm like going through trying to get to that egg, and there's only the one that actually will get through and, you know, create life. And this is how ideas are, you know, life, everything mirrors you know, life basically. I feel like this is how ideas are, you know, you get the idea, millions of people get the idea at the same time, but what are you going to do with it? How are you uniquely going to bring it forward? What are you going to say from your own experience, from the ways that life has shown you and brought you to this moment? What are you going to say to that to offer to other people? That's where it is for me, basically. What about you?
Well, I knew it was going to be orgasmic, whatever you were going to say. So I love that analogy. For me, I love that you're saying how we bring it through uniquely is how we actually weave it in with our voice, our life, our story, our face. That there's something very significant about the individual that we are that actually allows us to resonate and connect with a certain portion of those who are open to hearing the message in a way that, you know, somebody else can't reach. So I always honor that, you know, I'm actually never bringing through anything new. I'm actually always intending to bring through something ancient. And I think
Yeah.
that's what we really want to be doing, is we want to be actually channeling deep, powerful, ancient wisdom, bringing it through our modern lives and through my body and my vessel, and actually imparting that in the construct that feels in alignment for me, because then that will be in alignment for the people that will hear it through my voice. Whereas somebody else couldn't reach them. I'm the only one that can reach the people that are meant for me, and vice versa for all of us. I think it's really important to honor that no matter who you are, there is someone that will hear you over everybody else. And I really love it. Actually really supports me to speak up and be more clear in what I believe, because if I can reach the one person that needs to hear that idea, I feel really honored and blessed to bring through that ancient wisdom. I always know that we're going to have so much fun together. What about how much we're being seen? I've loved seeing you talk on this topic, that being a healer, the fear of rejection and being criticized, and almost a fear for our lives, that if we really allow our sacred gifts to unfurl publicly and for people to see and know who we really are, that alone will mean we'll be despised and rejected. How do you answer that now, Tash?
Well, one of the things that is really important to actually say is the way that our collective mind construct, so, our societal construct, hasn't been built previously in a general way, hasn't been built previously for us to really stand up and be originals and be unique. It's built in a way that it actually allows people to conform and to get into line, and to not really raise their voices too much, so that everything can be in a controlled kind of, manner. And this is changing. Those constructs are starting to break down, and people are starting to realize that just because you have a unique voice doesn't mean that you're going to disturb. You have a unique voice for a reason, and that reason is to expand. And so, when it comes to healing, for example, I think the collective mindset around healing has been very challenging for a lot of people to bring forward, because the history of being a healer has been a very challenging path. It's been a challenging path because, first of all, you've got to really face your own demons, and that is the journey of the healer, right? Is to face your demons and to expand out of that. And some of those aren't really pretty. Some of those aren't, do you know what I mean? They can be quite painful. They can actually bring you into places. But it's ultimately through that journey that you begin to discover your own divinity. So that's one part of the journey. And then it's a mirroring outwards. It's like, as you start to experience who you are as a divine being, there's an element of that divinity wanting to share itself with other people, wanting to expand itself and meet itself in other people. And this is where we get called to teach, and where we get called to be of service as a healer. But the journey starts with the healing journey, the inward healing journey, I feel, basically.
Beautiful. Yeah, and I love conceptually building with you, because where I would build on that for me is that it's my own perception of myself individually that I hold within my own sacred frame.
Yeah.
That is the only thing that will ever be, reflected back from the outside. So rather than controlling and contorting how I'm perceived and how I show up, if I just allow myself to have the free permission to be who I am and internally hold that in complete acceptance and love, then anything that is reflected back to me will either be in resonance with that or dissonance with that. Yeah. And I think when we're not clear in our internal world how we perceive ourselves, our shadow or our demons pop up outside of ourselves, and from a place of disassociation, we're like, oh, how could you think that of me? Yeah. Whereas, when we're really allowing ourselves to hold the truth of seeing and embracing our shadow and standing and allowing ourselves to be in the light, we actually sit from a place of knowing that anything that anyone else can actually reflect back to me about who I am only ever originated within my own being. So if we can really face our own shadow, there's nothing that's going to pop up externally. And I think that's where my safety is. And that's where I really want to encourage other people to look for, is that if you fear someone saying something, it's only originating from within yourself. So reconcile and embrace and acknowledge that shadow.
And that's the beauty. That's just to add a little piece to that. That's the beauty of having the mirrors on the outside that can be quite challenging, because it shows you where your own internal challenges are and where your own boundaries are and where there's room for expansion. So it's not like I'm there calling in challenging people, but challenge me, go and challenge me. No, it's not like that. But at the end of the day, when I do meet somebody who triggers me really deeply, it's almost like I want to thank them for showing me a part of myself that needs a deeper look, a deeper love, a deeper embrace. You know?
Yeah. Oh, I love these conversations with you. Ungroundedness. How this is showing up from what I'm hearing is people are just so overwhelmed with everything that needs to get done. They're actually not doing anything. There is this fog of tense anxiousness and fear that a lot of us can really tap into and feel, and it takes a lot of conscious intention. I've been speaking with people lately about really calibrating your emotional set point to be a high enough intention that you can emotionally rise up above that kind of anxious fog and actually intentionally create your own emotional state. Because anytime we're holding a higher vibrational emotional state, we're actually rising up out of that fog. And days that I do not intentionally rise up, I will succumb. And that's why every day is now a practice of intentionally calibrating. And for me, it's acceptance. Love is a very difficult point. It takes a lot to really get to that kind of universal, infinite love. And I've found if I calibrate on acceptance, just loving and accepting from that place, I find it a lot easier to sit there quite naturally. I don't have to put a lot of energy into it. So I think what I'm hearing myself say is that it's about making sure that it's a very authentic emotional standpoint. And then if that is of a higher emotional calibration, that allows emotional leadership, which is, I think, the true purpose of an empath, to be able to hold an emotional state where your emotional state is actually influencing others more than their vibrational state is influencing you.
Yeah.
Ungroundedness. Talk to me, wise Tash, of ungroundedness, because I feel like you're such a master in this area.
Well, I just love what you I always love how things come through your lens, and I love being taught by you in that way. In terms of groundedness, the thing that I've actually started to realize, because we're living in a very high vibrational technological age, where there's just information upon information upon information, and every individual now is adding to information that already exists. I mean, when we look at sort of, what we're able to tap into, just by Google, just by Googling something, we can actually tap into ancient history, like, from the 18th century forward. All of this, and even now, like I say, the generating of information is just such at a high speed. And I notice in my own self that it could get to a point where you're just like, I need one of that, I need that, I need that, I need that. And you're just like this, you know what I mean? Like a magpie going crazy, trying to get all this information and feeling like, and it's come to the point now where I'm starting to learn that the actual rooting in, the grounding in, you need to take a deep breath and really honor the voice that's coming through you as well. And really sink your roots into honoring yourself and honoring that voice that's coming through you. Because there's such a sense of, that person has got something really good to say, and this person has got really something good to say, and it's like you can drive yourself crazy because everyone's got something amazing to say. Do you know what I mean? But when we actually come to that point of stillness where we can actually sink our roots in and go, but my uniqueness is what matters here in this moment, and finding my own resonance is what happens in this moment. And that's kind of like a really rooted groundedness that you can only get in a level of stillness and a level of sinking in. And I'm hearing this a lot from people, that sense of not feeling grounded, that sense of like just, there's magpie effect that's kind of like drawing attention all over the place. It's the social media and what that's doing for people, like basically can't relax, that kind of thing. So we have to consciously now decide that we're going to sink in, consciously decide that we're going to root in and give ourselves that stillness,
Beautiful. Oh, that's so, I just, once again, I love hearing your words and your expression, the consciousness that we need for that, because there's basically, you know, to go offline and unplug, we actually need to go on holiday these days. And you can't do that for 52 weeks a year. So it brings in a new necessity for the skill set to be able to actively create that stillness and rootedness. So
it's just things like, for example, like, you know, the whole point of taking all technology out of your bedroom when you go to sleep and not having the pings and the pongs and the pings like in the middle of your sleep. I mean, I actually remember speaking to a woman who like basically had 3 children spread across the globe. So they were all in different time zones. And she slept with her mobile phone underneath her pillow. And like literally, if someone sent a text or an email to her at like 2 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning, she went into high alert and like looked at her phone to see who it was. And it was kind of like there's so much stress that was being caused by this.
Yes.
And this is the age that we're living in now, this technological age where you like literally have to create containers of stillness for yourself to ground in and root in, you know?
So true. We have loved sharing this soul dive conversation with you, and we hope that there's been something really valuable come forward. If you're really seeking to find your own answers to these problems, both of us have beautiful offerings available for you. I can highly recommend Tash Mitch, and she's going to tell you a little bit about her business alchemy. You can see it also in a link below.
So for the business alchemy, for me, everything is created on an energetic blueprint. Everything that we see in our world is created on an energetic blueprint. And even our lives is created on an energetic blueprint. And by that, I mean that we actually perceive, we think, we send energy forward, we call in things to us, either subconsciously or consciously. And for the business alchemy, it's really bringing a level of awareness and consciousness to this process of setting a blueprint, setting the energetic architecture in place first before we start calling things in, rather than doing it subconsciously. And I use the chakras as a way of doing this, basically. So this course is going to be starting at the end of April, and all the details, the link for the course is going to be below.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, Tash. And I think what I've really been called to create is I really wanted to support other healers to be able to rise. And I was thinking about a healer development course and a gift development course. And then I really realized there's just so many gifted intuitives and healers that are already absolutely amazing. And what they actually struggle to do is to voice their magnificence. And so I wanted to support them with their authentic marketing to help them find how to bring their unique message and through their own unique voice to be able to reach the people that are actually seeking their very skill set. So for people who are wanting to find out how to share their soul in a way that helps become more recognized and sought after, check the link below for the Align and Shine details. So Tash Mitch, this has been such a joy. Gosh, I love basking in your glory and always learning from you, like the joy of what comes forward. So thank you everyone for joining us for today's Soul Dive with Tash Mitch and Lysa Black. We've loved being here with you.
Oh, thank you. It's always a pleasure. And thank you for inviting me into this container yet again, Lysa. I adore you. Thank you.
You too.